You know what's happening in the world today? People are running. They're running so fast, so desperately, chasing something that slips through their fingers like sand. They wake up thinking about it. They sleep thinking about it. They sacrifice their relationships, their health, their peace of mind, all for what? Money. Just money. And I'm not here to tell you that money is evil or that you shouldn't pursue it. That would be naive and frankly dishonest. We live in a world where you need provision. You need to feed your family. You need shelter. You need basic necessities. But what I want to talk to you about today is something deeper, something that the majority of people have completely missed, and it's costing them everything. It's called barakah. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why some people who earn a fraction of what you earn seem so much happier? Why their money stretches further? Why they have time for their families while building successful businesses? Why they're at peace while you're anxious? Why their blessings multiply while yours seem to diminish no matter how much you accumulate? That's barakah. That's the blessing that multiplies what little you have and makes it more than enough. That's the secret most people never understand. You see, the problem isn't really about the amount of money you make. The problem is the direction of your search. You've been looking in the wrong place. You've been chasing the symptom instead of treating the disease. Money is the result. Barakah is the cause. And if you don't understand this distinction, you'll spend your entire life running on a treadmill, getting nowhere, exhausting yourself. Let me tell you something about this world. It's designed to make you chase. It's designed to keep you distracted. Every commercial, every advertisement, every social media post is screaming at you. You need this, you need that, you're not enough. Your life is incomplete without this product. And what happens? You internalize the message. You start believing that happiness, satisfaction, and success come from acquiring more things, making more money, climbing higher on the ladder. But here's what nobody tells you. The ladder is leaning against the wrong building. You can reach the top of that ladder and look around and realize you've been chasing an illusion your entire life. You can have millions in the bank and feel poor because there's no barakah in it. You can have a successful business and feel empty because there's no blessing in it. You can have everything the world says you should want and still feel like you're missing something crucial. That something is barakah. Now, what exactly is barakah? It's not magic. It's not supernatural in the sense of being outside the laws of nature. Barakah is a reality that operates on principles. It's the blessing that increases what you have, that makes time expand, that brings you opportunities seemingly out of nowhere. It's when you have less but it feels like more. It's when you work less but achieve more. It's when your provision comes from sources you never expected. But here's the crucial part. Barakah doesn't come from chasing money. It comes from something completely different. Think about what happens when you're desperately chasing money. You become anxious. That anxiety clouds your judgment. When your judgment is clouded, you make poor decisions. You start cutting corners. You start treating people badly because you're so focused on the result. You lose sight of principles. You compromise your values. And the moment you do that, you've already lost barakah. Because barakah doesn't come to someone who's willing to sacrifice everything for it. Barakah comes to the person who says, I will do what's right and I will trust in the process. Let me ask you, what are you willing to do to make money? Are you willing to lie? Are you willing to hurt people? Are you willing to neglect your family? Are you willing to compromise your integrity? Because if you say yes to any of these things, I can tell you with absolute certainty, you're searching in the direction that leads away from barakah. Barakah is built on foundations. Those foundations are integrity, honesty, gratitude, and trust. When you're operating from a place of honesty, even if you make less money, that money carries barakah with it. It stretches further. It brings you more satisfaction. When you're operating from a place of integrity, opportunities come to you that others never see. People trust you. They want to do business with you. They want to work with you. And that trust, that reputation is worth more than all the money in the world. But the moment you start compromising, the moment you think, I'll just do this one unethical thing to get ahead, you've severed yourself from barakah. And now you're running on your own strength alone. And your own strength is not enough. You know what I've observed? People who are desperately chasing money often end up losing it just as quickly as they gain it. They make a lot. They spend a lot. They're always stressed, always worried. Because without barakah, money is like water in a leaking bucket. No matter how much you pour in, it drains out. But people who have barakah, they manage their money differently. They're grateful for what they have. They're mindful of how they spend it. And somehow mysteriously it lasts. It multiplies. It brings them peace. I want you to understand something very important. The richest people in the world are not necessarily the ones with the most money. The richest people are the ones with the most barakah. Because barakah gives you something that money cannot buy, content. And a person with little money and complete contentment is infinitely richer than a person with millions and constant anxiety. So what's the alternative? If not chasing money, then what? What should you be chasing? Here's where most people get confused. When I say stop searching for money, I'm not saying don't work. I'm not saying be lazy or irresponsible. Far from it. What I'm saying is change your primary focus. Change what you're optimizing for. Instead of optimizing for maximum income, optimize for maximum barakah. Instead of asking, how can I make the most money? Ask, how can I do work that is honest, that is meaningful, that doesn't harm others, and that I can do with integrity. That shift in thinking changes everything. When you focus on barakah, you start making different choices. You choose a job that pays less but aligns with your values over a job that pays more but requires you to compromise. You choose to be honest in your business dealings even when dishonesty would be more profitable. You choose to treat your employees fairly even when cutting corners would increase your margins. And you know what? These choices don't make you poor. They make you rich, rich in barakah. Because here's the secret that the world doesn't want you to know. Righteousness is profitable. Integrity is profitable. Honesty is profitable. Not always in the short term, not always in a way you can measure immediately, but always in the long term, always in a way that sustains and multiplies. I've seen people build empires on the foundation of barakah. I've seen small businesses with barakah outcompete large corporations without it. I've seen individuals with modest incomes live better lives than billionaires because their money had barakah in it. The blessing multiplies what you have. The blessing makes you wiser in how you use it. The blessing protects you and sustains you. But you have to understand barakah is not something you can force. It's not something you can manipulate. You can't say, okay, I'll be honest this month so I can get barakah and then make tons of money. That doesn't work. That's still putting money first. That's still using integrity as a means to an end that is fundamentally about money. True barakah comes when you've genuinely shifted your priority, when you care more about doing what's right than about getting rich, when you care more about your principles than about your profit, when you care more about your family's well-being than about impressing people with your wealth. That's when barakah enters your life. Let me tell you about gratitude for a moment, because gratitude and barakah are inseparable. You cannot have one without the other. When you're constantly thinking about what you don't have, about how much more you need to earn, about how insufficient your current income is, you're in a state of ingratitude. And ingratitude is like a lock on the door of barakah. It prevents the blessing from entering. But when you're grateful, genuinely grateful for what you have right now, something shifts. Your perspective changes. You start noticing the abundance that's already in your life. You start seeing the blessings you've been overlooked. And in that state of gratitude, barakah multiplies. I want you to try something. Tonight, before you sleep, think about everything you're grateful for. Not the things you want, not the things you're working toward, the things you already have. Your health, your family, your ability, your education, the opportunities you've been given, the people who care about you, the provision that's already reached you. Sit with that gratitude, feel it, and notice how different you feel from when you're in the state of constant wonder. That feeling, that's the feeling of someone in alignment with barakah. That's the feeling of someone whose heart is at peace. And from that place of peace, your decisions become better. Your creativity becomes sharper. Your relationships become deeper. Your work becomes more meaningful. And paradoxically, while you're not focused on money, money comes more easily because money is attracted to people who don't desperately need it. Money flows toward stability, toward integrity, toward wisdom. When you're desperate, you repel opportunity. When you're at peace, you attract it. I need to address something that some of you might be thinking. You might be thinking, this is all beautiful in theory, but I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. I can't just meditate on gratitude while my family goes hungry. And I hear you. I understand that concern. And that's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that you do your work with excellence and integrity. And while you're doing that work, you maintain a mindset of barakah rather than a mindset of desperation. You provide for your family with dignity and honesty. You do your job well. You give value to your employer or your clients. You treat people with respect. You work hard and smart. And in that process, you trust that if you're walking the path of integrity and righteousness, barakah will come. It's not about being passive, it's about being active while maintaining the right internal state. It's about striving while trusting. It's about working hard while not being consumed by anxiety about the outcome. You know what happens when you stop being consumed by anxiety about money? You become more creative. You see solutions that anxious people miss. You have the mental space to innovate. You have the emotional energy to build meaningful relationships. You have the spiritual energy to connect with something larger than yourself. And all of these things actually lead to better financial outcomes than if you were in a state of constant panic. Let me tell you about something else. Trust. Real trust in the system of Barakah requires trust that if you do what's right, you will be provided for. Now, I'm not talking about naive trust. I'm talking about intelligent trust based on observation and experience. Look around you. Look at people throughout history who have built great things on the foundation of integrity. Look at people in your own community who have done right and been blessed. Look at the pattern. There is a pattern. It's consistent. Righteousness leads to flourishing. It might not always be immediate. It might not always be in the way you expect, but it's consistent. And on the flip side, look at people who have built empires on deception and dishonor. Eventually, it crumbles. It might take years. It might take decades. But the house built on a rotten foundation cannot stand indefinitely. We see this over and over in history. We see it in the news. Corruption catches up with you. Dishonesty unravels. The only sustainable success is the success built on truth. So here's what I want you to do starting today. I want you to shift your search. I want you to stop searching for money and start searching for barakah. What does that look like practically? It looks like asking yourself different questions. Instead of, how can I make the most money? Ask, how can I create the most value? Instead of, how can I beat my competition? Ask, how can I serve my customers better than anyone else? Instead of, how can I minimize what I pay my employees? Ask, how can I create an environment where my employees feel valued and motivated? Instead of, how can I cut corners to increase my profit margin? Ask, how can I ensure the quality of my product or service is exceptional? These questions lead you toward barakah, because barakah is in service, barakah is in value, barakah is in excellence, barakah is in treating people right. When you shift your mindset to focus on these things, everything changes. Your work becomes a form of worship. You're not just trying to extract money from the world, you're trying to contribute something meaningful to it. You're not viewing customers as people to exploit, you're viewing them as people to serve. You're not viewing employees as cost to minimize, you're viewing them as human beings to develop and care for. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you do this, when you genuinely shift your focus from money to barakah, money comes. It comes not always in the exact form you expected, but it comes. And it comes with less stress, less anxiety, and more satisfaction than if you had been chasing it directly. I've seen people leave high-paying jobs that made them miserable to take lower-paying work that aligned with their values. And within a few years, they ended up making more money than they ever did before because they were operating from a place of integrity and passion rather than desperation and resentment. I've seen entrepreneurs who stopped obsessing about maximizing profit and started obsessing about maximizing customer satisfaction. And their profits increased because satisfied customers stay loyal. They refer others. They pay premium prices because they trust the quality. They become partners rather than transactions. I've seen people who forgave debts they were owed, who gave generously despite having little, who treated people well even when it cost them, and somehow in ways both practical and mysterious they were provided for. The universe, or more accurately, the creator of the universe, takes care of people who take care of others. This is the principle of barakah. This is why stopping the search for money and starting the search for barakah is the most intelligent financial decision you can make. Let me address one more thing. Fear. Because fear is often what drives the desperate search for money. Fear that you won't have enough. Fear that you'll be left behind. Fear that you'll fail. Fear that something bad will happen. And this fear, while understandable, is actually the enemy of barakah. Fear clouds your judgment. Fear makes you act rashly. Fear makes you willing to compromise. Fear makes you see scarcity everywhere. And in that state of fear, barakah cannot flourish. Because barakah is built on trust, and fear is the opposite of trust. So part of searching for barakah rather than money is consciously working to reduce fear. And how do you do that? By building a foundation of security that doesn't depend on money. By developing skills that make you confident in your ability to provide. By cultivating relationships with people who have your back. By connecting with something spiritual that gives you perspective beyond material concerns. By maintaining your health, your integrity, and your peace of mind. These things, skills, relationship, spirituality, health, integrity, peace. These are worth more than money. And when you have these things, you don't live in fear. You live in a state where you can make good decisions. You can be generous. You can take calculated risks. You can invest in others. And from that place, barakah multiplies. You know what's interesting? The people who are most afraid of not having enough money are often the people who are most likely to make financial mistakes, because fear makes you desperate, and desperation makes you vulnerable to bad decisions, bad investments, and bad people. But the people who are least worried about money, not because they don't care about their financial security, but because they trust in their ability to provide and trust in the universe to provide, those people tend to make better financial decisions and end up more secure. It's counterintuitive, but it's true. The path to financial security is not through desperate chasing. It's through the cultivation of barakah. So I want to leave you with this. You have a choice. You have a choice about what you're going to search for. You can continue searching for money, running faster and faster on that treadmill, never satisfied, always anxious, always worried about the next thing. Or you can change direction. You can start searching for barakah. When you search for barakah, you're searching for integrity. You're searching for meaning. You're searching for ways to serve. You're searching for excellence. You're searching for peace. You're searching for contentment. And in that search, in that direction, money doesn't seem so important anymore. It becomes a byproduct rather than the goal. And ironically, when you stop obsessing about it, it flows more easily. This is not fantasy. This is not wishful thinking. This is reality. This is how the world actually works for people who understand it. And now that you know, you have the opportunity to apply it. You have the opportunity to change the direction of your search. Will it be easy? No. Because the world is constantly telling you to chase money. Your peers are probably chasing money. The media is telling you to chase money. Your own insecurities might be pushing you to chase money. So maintaining this alternative direction requires commitment. It requires constant recommitment. It requires surrounding yourself with people and ideas that support this perspective. But the reward is extraordinary. The reward is a life of peace while others are anxious. A life of abundance while others feel scarcity. A life of meaning while others feel empty. A life with barakah. So starting today, I want you to make a shift. I want you to catch yourself when you're in that desperate money-chasing mindset and redirect. I want you to ask yourself, is this decision coming from a place of barakah, or is this decision coming from a place of fear and desperation? I want you to choose integrity over profit when the two conflict. I want you to choose excellence over mediocrity. I want you to choose service over selfishness. I want you to choose gratitude over ingratitude. And as you do these things, as you genuinely shift your focus to searching for barakah rather than searching for money, watch what happens. Watch how your life transforms. Watch how opportunities appear. Watch how your relationships deepen. Watch how your work becomes fulfilling. Watch how money flows to you in unexpected ways. This is the promise of focusing on barakah. This is the reality of choosing the right direction. And the beautiful thing is, it's available to you right now, not in some distant future, not when you have more money, not when circumstances are perfect. Right now, you can make this shift today. You can decide today that you're going to operate from integrity. You can decide today that you're going to be grateful for what you had. You can decide today that you're going to focus on service and excellence rather than profit extraction. You can decide today that you're going to trust in the system of barakah rather than in your own desperate striving. And if you make that decision, if you really commit to it, your entire life will change. Everything will look different. Not because external circumstances have changed, but because your internal orientation has changed. And that internal change is everything. This is what it means to stop searching for money and start searching for barakah. This is the path to true wealth, true security, and true peace.